Hey y'all, it's Hans. Welcome back. This is episode 276 of the Late Night Vision Show. I am your executive producer and co-host. I heard you laughing back there. I've got my other co-host snickering back there, the owner of Outdoor Legacy, Mr. Jason Robertson. What's going on today?
I know that the struggle is real after
It's
275 episodes in the can. You would think
we're professionals.
that we would be highly trained professionals just out of the sheer number of Thursdays in a row we've done this. But guys, we're not highly trained professionals. We're a bunch of country bumpkins fumbling around over here. We've had Bluetooth AirPods go dead. We've had phone line connection problems. We've lost each other. We've been struggling on this show today, but we're starting over again because of all the technical issues. But this third time, or fourth, or fifth, or whatever we're on, it's gonna be fantastic. It's gonna be
third
huge.
time's a charm.
It's gonna be the real deal. All right.
Well,
guys.
we've got a great show for you today. I'm going to tell you this is an important topic because if you open any of your social medias, if you open basically anything, if you're tuned into this sport of night hunting, you know that there is a huge used thermal and night vision market out there. There are so many people selling it, their optics for whatever reason, whether they want to upgrade to something new, if they felt like they purchased something that's not really working for them with what they're trying to do. If you open anything, there is a ton of people trying to sell used night vision and thermal. We're going to help you weed through all of that, help you make the right decision, what you need to look for, what you need to avoid, and what you need to kind of go towards. But I think we've got a good plan laid out here, Jason, because it is important. There are some good deals out there. There's no doubt about it. But there's also some things you kind of want to stay away from at the same time.
Right. So I want to talk about real quick. I'm going to give our shameless plug for the show and then a disclaimer. Number one, if you're looking for a new night vision or a thermal optic, give us a call at Outdoor Legacy. This is what Hans and I do for a living. Our other salesman, Ashley, we are here to help you. We're help you to help you decide on what you need. We know there's a lot of choices. There's a lot of confusion. You don't know where to start. You may just be like completely lost, or maybe you got a pretty good idea. You may know the exact scope you think you want, but you just want to be sure. Call us at 877-350-1818. We want to help you make sure you get into the right scope, and we want to help you with that purchase when you're ready to make it. Again, this is what we do for a living. That's why this Late Night Vision show exists. This is what we do. We test and use every single thermal optic that we sell. We test and use it in the field. We hunt with it. All three of us use all these scopes. So we can tell you realistically how they compare, what they're good for, what they're not good for. And we want to make sure you make the right choice so that maybe you're not one of these people that's trying to sell your scope down here that we're talking about. So that's the shameless plug, outdoorlegacygear.com. Again, 877-350-1818. Now, the disclaimer. I know people are going to say, okay, guys, y'all sell thermal scopes, new thermal scopes for a living, so we know what you're trying to do. You're going to tell us all the scary, bad reasons we should not buy used. That's what you're doing here. We're going to tell you some scary things. We sure are, but we're going to tell you, hopefully, how to avoid those things and how to be safe with your money and not get scammed or not make a bad decision and a bad purchase. And the reason is, we need there to be a strong secondary used market. No different than car dealers need there to be a good used car market so they can sell you new vehicles. We're the same exact way. We need that. And Hans brought up, there's a lot of scopes for sale out there. And people go, why is everybody getting out of it? Or no, it's because there's been so many scopes sold in the last 3, 5, 6, 7, 8 years, and guys want to upgrade. They want to get something else. So what do? You get rid of your old one. And, some guys are going to keep it and, use it as a backup or for a buddy or a kid or a wife but again, you get rid of it so you can get your new one. And so that's why there's a lot of optics. A lot of people are looking to upgrade. It's summer and they're not using them. And they're thinking about fall. They're thinking about winter. So that's why a lot of that's out there. So we definitely are not telling you not to buy used. We're just going to give you some pros and the cons and tell you what to look out for. real quick, I'm going to try to make this pretty quick before we jump into the actual discussion. Hans brought this topic up a while back, put it on the list, and I thought it sounded vaguely familiar. And so I dug back through our past 275 episodes, and we did discuss this on episode 269, which, as random fate would have it, was in August of 2019, exactly 4 years ago. And this is totally random. We did not plan this. And that discussion then was mostly about warranty. And that's because at the time, these thermal and night vision manufacturers, for the most part, were not allowing a transferable warranty. There was only maybe one exception to that rule. So when you bought a used scope, just like if you bought a used TV or a laptop or a phone or whatever, there's no warranty. It didn't transfer. That has changed due to the competition and the way the market's gone. Now, all of the major players that we deal with all allowed transferable warranties. So that's a good thing. Another thing is back then there was very, very few companies, reputable companies, big name companies in this market. You had Pulsar, you had Armacite, FLIR, Envision. That was kind of it at the time.
Yeah.
That was really doing
exactly.
a lot. I mean, Bearing was around, but they weren't near as popular. Nowadays, you've got Pulsar, Armacite FLIR's gone. You've got Envision, AGM, Bearing, IRA USA. So those are the major players. There's going to be a lot of other brands that are coming to the market, fringe companies. But these are the major players that we're talking about. And so these guys are all offering transferable warranties now and longer warranties than ever, too. It's another big thing. Another thing that's majorly changed is just the number of optics you have, not just brands, but models. There's so many options and there's so many new features. The prices have come down, the image quality's gone up. So there's been a lot change. I mean, shockingly in those 4 years. Now, a couple negatives that I think have changed is one, there's so much more supply. There's so many more brands. There's so many more optics that the used prices, that the value of a used optic is really gone way down from what it was. It was
Yeah.
ridiculous at one point what you could get for a used optic. Too much, to be honest with you. I mean, people were getting 90% of what they had paid for a scope. I mean, that's crazy. 80% was very common. Now we're seeing those numbers come down again as supply has caught up and there's just a lot of them out there. So we're going to talk about that. And then the last thing that's changed, it's a negative, is there's way more scammers than there used to be. With so many used scopes out there and so many people looking for used scopes, it does not take long for the scammers to come like a moth to a flame. They see a way to cash in because they're not just selling you something for $50. They're selling you something for $2, $3, $4, $5, $6,000. So scammers, we're going to talk about those guys as well. So now jumping into the topic, Hans, let's tell
Yeah.
guys that are looking for a used night vision or thermal optic, what do you need to look for? What do you need to do? What do you not need to do? Let's talk about it.
Yeah, I think when we're talking about the used market, and I'm glad you said that with the value of used thermals really going down and it being because the market with the new side, the new thermal and night vision is just, it's all over the place. There's sales running all the time and that's really affecting the resale value of these used optics. But I think the first thing we really need to think about when you're in the market for either a new, and I think this pertains to either side. If you're purchasing a new or looking at used night vision or thermal, is to know exactly what you want. And that doesn't mean that you know exactly the brand and the model and all that, but you have an idea of what you need to be able to get out into your field, whether you're coyote or hog hunting. It's important to know the distances, your average shot distance, because that really pertains to and is going to be relevant to the magnification level that you want or that you need. But you also need to know what features. I want rechargeable batteries, or I want video audio recording, which most of them come with now, and Wi-Fi. You just need to know all the things that you want. But I think the most important thing is don't settle. Don't compromise what you know that you need to be effective out hunting. just because you feel like, or you see that there's another deal. And an example of that, and there's a lot of this going on right now, is there are coyote hunters that need a 3 or a 3.5 power scope that are settling, and they're buying a 2 power scope, base magnification scope, because they found one that's on sale or they found one that's a good deal.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what does that do for you? You needed 3.5 base magnification. You settled on a 2 power scope because you got a good deal on it. What is that going to mean in the next 6 months, in the next year?
Mm-hmm.
More than likely, you're going to use it and turn around and feel like you need to sell it because it's not doing exactly what you need it to do. So what I would say, again, just to reiterate, is to know what you want, know the features that you want, know the type of scope that you need, whether it's a tube style scope for bolt action rifles or AR style rifles, or if you want something compact, and just kind of make yourself a checklist. This is what I want. This is what I need. And these are things I'm not going to compromise on. And don't get jaded or don't get hypnotized by all of these deals on Facebook or all these deals on social media with people selling scope, because there are some great deals, but that doesn't mean necessarily that great deal's for you. And Jason, you and I see this and hear about this all the time, even on the new optic side, where a manufacturer runs a great deal on a scope, and you've got all these guys buying these scopes, and you're like, man, that is not the right scope for you. You're going to be very, very limited with what you can do. But it's hard, Jason, as with anything, it's hard to pass up those good deals sometimes, even when it's not the right decision.
So everything you said there is spot on. There's a couple things I would add. One is if you're a new hunter and you're new to night vision and thermal, I understand the idea of I want to just dip my toe in the water. Okay. I may not want to just jump off and buy some big expensive optic. I'm on a budget. I don't even know if I'm going to like this. So buying used makes more sense for me. I would say, and this is going to just stick with me on this, but I'm going to say if you're new to this, you're way better off buying new. And here's the reason. The reason is you don't know what you need. You really don't. And you're not, you don't know if you need 2 power or 3 power or 4 power. You don't maybe not understand the difference exactly in the 384 and the 640. I don't say those things being mean. I say it as I get it. I mean, we talk to people every single day and it's like, I'm not sure what I need. If you're new to it, you're way better off finding a good reputable dealer. Again, shameless plug. Here's the disclaimer. Yes, you should come buy new. You should. This is my opinion. Because if you don't know what you need and going out to Facebook or to the forums or to Instagram or somewhere and saying, hey guys, I want to go coyote hunting, what do I need to buy? You're going to get answers that are all over the place. I mean, go ask those guys which brand of truck is the best. And it's the exact same useless information that you're going to get when you ask about what thermal to buy. So if you're new to it, you're way better off going to a good dealer. Doesn't have to be us, but somebody that uses these scopes that can tell you about them and how each one's going to work for you. And then you can buy from them. And you've not only are you getting expert advice on what to buy, you're getting help when you need it with that scope of, hey, how do I zero this thing? Or hey, what's the best way to mount this? Or I'm going to put this on this kind of rifle. Will this mount okay? There's a whole lot of value in having a good, high quality small business dealer right there when you're new to this, because you got a lot of questions. And so, maybe that doesn't mean you go buy the $5,000 scope to start out. Maybe you're going to buy a night vision scope for $500, get your toes wet in here. But that's a good place, in my opinion, to start when you're new. Now, if you're already into the thermal market, you've already owned one, maybe 2, whatever, you got some experience. You've got a better feel for, hey, I bought this one. I really need this. I need more magnification, or maybe I need less magnification, or, you've got an idea. I think that's where you're probably a little better when it comes to buying, because you know some traps to watch out for. You've maybe got a little better feel of what you need and what you want. You know how to zero the scope. You know how to use the basic features. You know what I'm getting at? So I feel like that's a place, if you've got some experience, the used market is a good place to save some money. For a new user, I kind of think that you need to be very, very careful. And don't do this. I'm just going to go ahead and say it on behalf of us and behalf of all the other good dealers out there that offer good service, don't call them and waste their time knowing that you're going to go buy a used scope somewhere. Don't do that. I mean, you're stealing their time. Don't do it. Take your chances, go figure it out on your own, or again, buy new, but if you're going to call somebody, you know what I'm getting at, guys. I'm not trying to be a jerk, but it's just true. If you know you're not going to go buy from them, don't go waste their time on that. But again, the only other thing that I think I would really say is Hans made a super point about buying something because it's on sale. Be super careful of that. I'm going to disagree with one thing Hans said. He said you don't necessarily have to know the exact model that you want, but have some general idea. I would say this. I think you need to know, maybe it's not one scope, maybe it's 2 or 3 scopes, but it's whatever, a very small handful of specific models that you want. And here's the reason. I think if you don't know, you're going to get drug into what's a good deal. I see these posts that guys make and they come out and they say, I'm looking for a scope, just getting into this. What do y'all got used? Well, yeah. I mean, $500 scopes, $18,000 scopes, 1 powers, 4 powers. So you need a pretty good idea of what you want. Otherwise, you're just picking up darts and throwing them out the board. All right. Mm-hmm. So moving on. This is a big one. This is a really big one. Don't get scammed. Nobody wants to get scammed. This was not really a danger 3 or 4 years ago. Not like it is now. It's a huge danger now. And I don't say this to tell you not to buy. I'm going to tell you what you need to do to avoid this. And you go, what's getting scammed? What's happening here? It can happen when you're selling a scope, but it's more likely to happen when you're buying. And so what happens is you find a scope that's for sale on a classified ad or on Facebook or forum, and there's normally a picture of it. And the guy says, hey, this is what I got for sale. Not always, but most of the time, it's too good of a deal. It's they're trying to draw you in. And you can, a lot of times you can talk to these guys via, the forum or the social media. Maybe you can text back and forth. A lot of these guys they'll private message or instant message you. They'll text you back and forth. And one of the things to kind of watch for is, I'm not trying to just, be a super broad stereotype, but a lot of these guys are not in the US, or if they are, English is probably their second language. That's not all the scammers, but that's a majority of them. So watch for weird, phrases, things that an American, because that's who we're talking to here. This is Americans.
Yeah, blatant grammar errors, words that are out of place. If it just doesn't sound or seem like a natural post, then it's definitely fishy for sure. Yeah. Big words. Some of these guys now are using some of these artificial intelligence generators. If they've got big words that are like, who would say that? I'd avoid it. I mean, and just drop it. Don't try to call the guy out. Don't try to get into it. Just drop it and go on to the next one. So be careful on that. Another thing you can do is again, you're spending several $1,000s for something sight unseen. You're taking some risk here. We're going to talk about risk in a minute. Don't be afraid to say, hey, I tell you what, and again, do this when you're serious. Don't waste this guy's time. Don't do this in the first 30 seconds. But if you're really serious about it, say, hey, I tell you what I want you to do. I want you to go and put a piece of paper and write today's date and my name is Jason. Write Jason on there with today's date. Put it up beside that scope, and will you take a picture of that? And now, it's not 100% because there's Photoshop. There's all kinds of things guys can do, but it'll give you a better idea. Tell him where you want that picture taken. Put that piece of paper up, whatever, against the lens cap open. And don't make this like a scavenger hunt. But you know what I'm getting at. You're trying to see if that guy's really got the scope, because a lot of times what they've done is they've stolen somebody else's photos. And I've even seen a thing in the last couple of weeks where a guy was selling his scope, and he did the right thing. He wrote his name and he wrote the date and he put the model and he put that piece of paper up next to his scope. Well, some scammer stole his pictures the same week.
So
Oh
the
gosh.
date is only 3 days off. I mean, so it looks legitimate. The guy got scammed. He bought the scope, sent the guy the money, and he didn't buy the
Mm.
scope. I guess he got scammed. So you got to be careful with that. That's something to look for. Another thing is when it comes to paying for this optic, PayPal is a normal way of doing it because most individuals can accept credit cards. That's understandable. So PayPal is an easy way to send money back and forth. If anyone ever asks you to send money via Venmo, Cash App, any of these other MoneyGram, don't do it. You want to only use PayPal, and you only want to use their service called Goods and Services. The reason why is because that means PayPal is going to act as an intermediary. Doesn't always mean that you're 100% in the safe and the clear, but at
Hmm.
least you've got a little bit of somebody on your side over here as the middleman. So if you do get scammed, then you can go to PayPal and say, hey, listen, this is what happened, and then they can hopefully go to battle and you can get your money back. It does work sometimes. I know for a fact I've seen it work. There's other times that PayPal doesn't side in your favor and you still got scammed. But most of the time, I'm gonna say this: you have a lot more recourse there, and this is important. Don't let the seller convince you to use friends and family. Friends and family is a way for me to send Hans $100, and PayPal does not charge me as the seller or the person sending the money. They don't charge a fee for that. Okay. So it's just it's a convenient way for us to pass each other money if we need to. But the goods and services means that the person receiving the money has to pay PayPal 3.5%. Okay.
Hmm.
People don't like to, oh, I don't want to pay 3%. Well, guess what? Welcome to the real world. Everybody that's in business, we're all paying the 3% to the credit card companies. You've got to do that too. But if the seller asks you to pay friends and family or whatever, do not do it because you have zero recourse. You just
Hmm.
it's like shipping them cash. It is gone if it's a
Hmm.
scam. So that's just the last thing I would say to be careful there. One more thing is there's a pro and a con here, there's a pro, but you need to be careful here as well. If you're buying a used scope from an authorized dealer, then you take out some of these risks because
Hmm.
now this guy's got a business. Okay, I know where to get a hold of him. He's got a phone number I can call and talk to him on the phone. He's been doing this for years. You've got way less risk. Now, with that said, okay, there's so many ways to get scammed. Make 100% sure that you're actually dealing with a legitimate business. Hans and I know of 2 or 3 specific cases that have happened this year of people getting
Hmm.
scammed by what otherwise appears to be a legitimate business that I think probably was a legitimate business at one point, and they've gone rogue, and the owner is out there scamming people. And
Hmm.
uh, so you go, well, my gosh, now where do I turn? You need to know that you're dealing with somebody legitimate that's got some, positive reviews. That any legitimate thermal and night vision dealer, you can ask around. You can go on Facebook or social media and say, "Hey, y'all ever heard of anybody dealt with them?" And you can find out if they're legit. So that's just something I would say be sure. And there's other guys I've seen, these scammers make up fake business names, put them on Facebook. Hey, I'm, such and such thermal dealer. And it's just something they made up 15 minutes ago. So
Hmm.
watch out for the scams. All right,
Yeah, that
moving
one's
on. Go ahead.
that one. If that didn't freak you out, then I don't know what will. No, it's
Well,
not that bad. It's really not that bad, but there are some things to look for, and I think you
yeah,
laid it out good. The thing to me is, if if you don't get a if you got a weird gut feeling about it, it's probably a scam. don't
right.
eh, don't let your don't override your gut feeling with the desire of getting a cheap scope or a good deal on a scope,
Yeah.
because that's when you get yourself. That's when it comes back to bite you. But let's talk about Jason. Let's talk about. You want to go to the next one, or you want to?
Yeah, I do. And all I was going to say is, I'm really not trying to scare you. It is scary because we're talking a lot of money. If this was $25, I wouldn't even bring this up. But we're talking about hundreds or thousands. So
Mm-hmm.
it is scary, but protect yourself. Act smart, think smart. Doesn't mean that you still can't get scammed. Listen, anybody and everybody can get scammed on any given day. Scammers are good. Just know that going in, and you're going to be fine. You can take care of yourself. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Warranty.
Let's talk about warranty, because this is a big question. This is a big selling point for people selling used optics. You see posts still got 3 years of warranty on it. Still got people want to buy a scope that still has a warranty. There's a lot of claims out there about used scopes with warranty, and there's a lot of confusion about it as well. So how exactly does all of that work from the manufacturer and transfer and everything?
I'm going to speed this up a little bit. I'm going to try to anyway. I know I like to get long-winded, but guys, I'm trying to help you not lose money. I'm trying to help you save money and spend your money wisely. So maybe it is a little long-winded, but I want to give you the best advice that I can. Again, as we alluded to in the first part of the show, most companies are now allowing for transferable warranties. That's huge. It's a big, big deal. Again, this is not normal in the electronics world. And I'm sorry, these are electronics you're buying. These are very high-end, fancy electronics. But the warranties, generally speaking, are transferable. But what you need, and this will just, if you get this, then everything else I'm probably going to say doesn't matter. You need a copy. Now, you don't have to have the original printed. You can have a scanned copy. You can have a copy of the email, something. You need a copy of the original receipt where the seller purchased this from an authorized dealer. Okay. Maybe he bought it used. Maybe he's got the copy from when he bought it. That's fine. Nobody said it can only be transferred once. You just need the original. Again, email is fine as long as it's legitimately from an authorized dealer. I'm not talking about, Bubba's pawn shop that's not an authorized dealer. I'm talking about a dealer. I mean, you need to be able to look this business. And maybe it is a local brick and mortar gun shop. That's fine. They're dealers online. That's fine. You just need that original receipt. And here's why. Because just because somebody says, hey, it's got a 5-year warranty and I bought it 2 years ago, 3 years of warranty left. Prove it. I mean, prove that. And when you go to the manufacturer, they're going to say, prove that. I mean, prove that's when it is. Now, a lot of times they can go and they can, not all the times, but some of the manufacturers can go, they can pull the serial number. And here's what they can do. They can say, okay, you don't have the receipt, but we can see that this optic was sold to Outdoor Legacy. They're a dealer. So it originally went to them, and here's the date it was sold to them. We can start the warranty on that day because we don't know. Outdoor Legacy might have had it sold the day they got it, but we can start the warranty at that day. But you don't know when that is. You don't know, was that 3 years ago, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, last week? You need a copy of that receipt. And then once you have that, you're golden. If they don't have a copy of that receipt, then you just need to know you're gambling. You're rolling dice.
And don't, the seller may say, well, I don't have a receipt. They never sent me a receipt or an invoice. I just have the scope. Anybody that purchased their optic from a legitimate dealer can go back to that dealer and get an emailed copy of the invoice or receipt. So that's an important feature or thing that you need to think of when
we get those requests every day. Somebody emails or calls the ladies in our office and say, hey, I need a copy of my receipt. Maybe they've got to send it in for warranty. Maybe they're selling it. Maybe they're giving it to their, brother-in-law, whatever. It's not an uncommon request. Sure, you need a copy of the receipt. Takes 30 seconds. No problem. They should be able to get that to you. So another line that is just a lie. I never registered it. So the full warranty, it goes back to the receipt. I don't care if you registered it. All the little fill out this in the box or that's just all to send you marketing. Forget that. Okay. They want your email address and your address and your phone. They want to text you, email you. That's all that is, guys. I'm going to tell you straight up. The manufacturers are watching this. They're probably not happy. That is bull. and it's a way to get you to market to use. Okay, that's not really about your warranty. There may be some exceptions to that rule somewhere, so I'll give myself that caveat. It doesn't matter. It goes back to the receipt. And if you go to register it, what's the first question on there? When is your date of purchase? And you can say, oh, well, I purchased it today. I'm going to lie, not tell them I had a year. And then when you go to send it in, they're going to say, send us the receipt. I don't get it.
Yeah.
All goes back to the receipt. All right. Another thing to be careful of. I've seen this a lot. A guy's got a scope. Maybe he's not going to tell you this part, but maybe he's had the scope 2 years and it's got a 3-year warranty. Okay. And he says, I've got a warranty replacement here, brand new. You know, his scope was defective after 2 years. He sent it in. The company sends him a brand new scope right here in the box. And he says, hey, I got a brand new scope. And so full warranty. No, he's got a scope with 1 year of warranty left. And you go, well, wait a minute. No, it's a brand new scope. That's not the way this works. It doesn't work in any business this way. When you get a replacement item, your warranty doesn't start over with another 3 or 4 or 5 years. Literally before we started this show, I had a Rotomold cooler, one of these nice coolers that had a defect in it. And Hans and I were talking right before we started the show. I got an email. They're sending me a new cooler. And this cooler has a 3-year warranty. I don't get a new 3-year warranty. I've had that cooler for a year and a half. I've still only got a year and a half left. So that's the way that works. So just don't fall into that. So at the end of the day, this is I don't want this to be negative. I want this to be positive. You are now getting transferable warranties that you were not before. You just need a copy of the original receipt. And if the guy says, I don't know, my brother-in-law bought it for me. We'll call your brother-in-law and see if he can get the receipt. And now, if you can't, and does that mean, okay, there's guys that are right now going, oh, well, I don't know, I bought my scope used. Does that mean I can't ever sell it? No, you just need to pay accordingly to that. If you buy a scope with no idea of exactly how old it is and how much warranty is left, you need to pay accordingly. I wouldn't personally pay as much for that as the one that the guy's waving the receipt that, says Outdoor Legacy or whatever the legitimate dealer on the top of it is. And you can go, yep, I can see he bought it right here. That's all you need.
Yep. Yeah, exactly right. So that kind of ties in perfectly with the next point and that's don't overpay for an optic. And this is a difficult one to do because the new market is fluctuating so much. There's so much movement. Like we talked about, there's good deals that are going on right now, that have been going on right now. Manufacturers have been adjusting their prices. It's a good time to buy a new optic. But when you have that fluctuation on the new thermal and night vision side, what do you think that's going to do to the used market? It's all over the place. So we talked about it earlier in this video how the value of these used optics aren't what they used to be. I remember back, Jason, 4 and 5 years ago, telling guys that, hey, for every year that you own it, you could probably take off 20% of the value. So that means if you owned it a year, you're still getting 80% of the value of that scope. That is definitely not the case now. No. It's definitely not the case with the flooded used market. So I think it's important before you buy, if you say, you know what, I want a used scope, I want a secondhand, I don't want to pay for a new optic. That's fine. I think you need to do some investigation on the new scopes though, to make sure that you're paying the right price for a used scope. Meaning, don't go out and buy a used scope, let's say a $3,500 scope, when you can go out and for $3,800 or $3,700 buy something brand new that might even be better. So I think it's important to know what, obviously don't overpay, but don't overpay means knowing what the new market is doing and not just disregarding that. Because again, it's like you go back to car sales, you're like, well, why would you buy that used truck when you can get this one for the same payment or the same, almost the same money, or, if you got good deals going on and incentives for buying a new car, sometimes it makes sense just to jump up and buy it, spend a little bit more and get something brand new. But it's important that you are looking at everything. And like I said, this is changing day to day, month to month, with all these prices fluctuating, and to make sure that you're not overpaying for a used optic. I think it goes back to making sure that you reach out to people that are in the know, whether that's friends of yours, buddies of yours that are
Mm-hmm.
plugged into the market, or that's a dealer, like us, where you call in and say, I've kind of been looking at used scopes, but what's new out there in this category of what I'm looking for? Are there anything that kind of meet this criteria that would be a better option, a better deal for what I'm trying to do? And in some cases there is, in some cases there's not. It really just depends. But I do think you bring up an excellent point, Jason, on the last discussion of making sure that you get a receipt. And if you can't get a receipt, I do think that takes off the value of the scope more than
Mm-hmm.
somebody that has the receipt with proof. And it doesn't matter if it's multiple owners, but some
Yeah.
type of paper trail for this scope. I do think something like that. It's like buying a baseball card with a certificate of authenticity or something. It gives it a little bit more value. Same thing with the scope with the receipt, but knowing that you are paying a fair price for that scope, you're not overpaying. You know what the new car. You know what the new market's doing. You know what you're looking for. I know when you say it's easy for me to say, well, don't overpay for a scope. That's hard to do. I think what I mean is do some investigation, call some people, call some experts, do a lot of research. Don't open up Facebook and you see a deal like got to jump right on it because there are a lot of things to know and to take into consideration.
So yeah, something I saw this week is, um, I'm going to be careful here because I could probably say this, and it's been posted enough that somebody would know who it is. I saw somebody that is, I think they're a pro staff or somebody and a dealer, but they're selling a very nice used optic. Okay, I'm going to be so vague here. A very nice used optic, and the price they were offering at was a very fair used value. Scope was like new, had the box. I mean, it was like a year and a half old, but I mean, it looked really good, and I think the price was fair. It was fair 2 months ago until the optic was discontinued and closed out, and you can now buy that optic brand new, like some closeouts that are still available out there for $500 under what this guy's selling this used one for.
Yeah.
And if you didn't really know what was going on, that used optic, I mean, it was a very fair price, and this guy selling it knows. And that's fine. Hey, it's his. You can sell anything you want for any price. I don't have any problem. Do what you want to do. But I'm making the point. And to be honest, he probably paid for this thing. And, he probably, don't blame him. He didn't want to lose money. The prices dropped on it. So you just need to be careful there. And I think that another thing that is something to think about, and this goes back to the don't overpay. Get a good deal, because as Hans mentioned, there was a time period we were telling guys, yeah, you've had your scope a year and a half, and you may still get 80% of the value. You might now. Seems unlikely. It's just not the way the market has gone. So what guys would do is they would say, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go buy this scope. It's not the scope that I want, but I can use it all season. It's a good scope. It can get me through. I'm going to go sell it, and I can get 80 to 90% of what I paid for it. And so maybe I'm going to lose a few $100, but gosh, I got to use it all season. It's worth it. There's almost no risk in this. Don't buy thinking, whether it's new or used, I'm just going to keep this for a little while and then go turn around and I'll just go dump it and buy something else. Because you can get into a situation where instead of losing $300, you might be losing $1,500 in that one season or that 6 months or.
Yeah, and I'm hearing from so many guys, I know you are too, that are calling like, man, I want to buy this new scope, but I can't sell my old scope. Nobody wants to buy them. Like that's a big problem. And it's people like you said that are buying scopes knowing it's probably not going to work and just say, yeah, I'm going to sell it. Well, man, they're stuck in them now. And if they can't afford to buy a new scope without selling their old one, then they're really stuck because
Well, and when they
it's
say nobody wants to buy it, what they're saying is nobody, I don't want to sell it for what the market says it's really
exactly
worth. That's it.
exactly
There's buyers.
yeah
Trust me. There's plenty of guys buying used scopes, but they're getting wise and they're saying, there's tons of why would I pay this? And why am I going to pay that much? I can go get a new one on the shelf. So that's where the used market is changing.
right.
You're right. Anybody that says I can't sell it, there's a market. You just have to, lower the price.
They're not willing
So
to sell it for what the market says it's
that's
worth.
right.
Yeah.
So I want to close with this. You need to understand the risk. I'm not going to go back over them all. We've beat some of them into the ground too much. I'm going to come back though, and I want to give this disclaimer because I promise, I know there's guys listening to this who say you just want to scare people into buying new scopes. You told them why they should deal with a dealer. It is true that we are biased. We do believe that buying a new scope holds benefits. Customer service. You're not going to get scammed. You're getting the full warranty. You're getting that help out. There are, sure. I mean, I'm not going to hide that. But again, as I stated in the beginning, I'm going to end with this. We don't want people overpaying for used. We don't want people getting scammed. I don't want anybody to get scammed, especially guys that are good guys, that are hunters, that are wanting to get into this, get their family into it, their kids, their what. No, I want this good used market to be there. And again, at the beginning, I said, if you're new, you probably need to buy new. If you're new into this industry or this hobby, you probably ought to buy new. But I understand not all guys are going to. As long as you've got the information on what you're looking for, just be educated. No different than, if you're going to go out and buy a pickup truck, yes, you can go see it. You can go look at it. You can go test drive it. You can't necessarily do that on these used optics. But you also have the opportunity to take that truck to the mechanic. Let him look it over. Anybody that won't let you go do that, that's kind of strange. You have that opportunity. With these optics, you don't even get to touch it. You don't even get to see it.
Right.
And maybe you do. You don't know what the scope does in a recoil. So the reason I'm saying this, again, not to scare you more, but it's to say you've got to protect yourself. You've got to come in with a lot of knowledge. And you can still get scammed even buying that truck on the side of the road from a guy that lives a half a mile down the road from you. So you've just got to be careful with what you're doing. And I think this is what it all boils down to for me. You need to buy and pay for where the risk is worth the reward. And if the risk is worth the reward, then it's a really good deal. And that's it. That's all I'm saying. Be smart. Don't overpay. Make sure it's a good deal for you. And if you're going to buy this scope and you're not going to sell it and you're going to keep it and you're going to keep it for 3 or 4 or 5 years, then it probably doesn't matter. The difference in, $2, $3, $4, even $500 over 4 or 5 years, what's that matter? I mean, it's money, but $100 here and there, you're not going to notice that in several years down the road. The one more thing I am going to say that I should have said earlier in this, and I kind of missed one of my notes, and that is buying a used optic from a dealer, again, a legitimate dealer, authorized dealer. You do get, there is a way to get a full warranty with some of the stuff. And I say used isn't the right word. If somebody trades in a scope to a dealer, then that optic is going to be different. That's going to carry the same thing of how long is the warranty. A lot of times what I will do for people, if I'm selling a trade-in, we don't do many trade-ins, but if something happens, we get one, I will put on that receipt, scope comes with a whatever, a 2-year, 6-month warranty or, whatever. I will put that on there. Well, now that guy's got something in writing from me as a dealer. So if he has, the manufacturer goes, well, we don't think this is right, they can come back to me on that. And that's something that I can hash out with the manufacturer. But as dealers, dealers are able to sell their demo units. They're like open box units. Maybe they've opened it, showed a customer, or looked at it for some reason. Again, demoed it, gone out in the field. we're able to sell those units with full warranties. So those sometimes are a really good deal, where, again, I just don't want you to take everything I said and then apply that even to a dealer. Some dealer goes, hey, I've got this demo unit. We used it for around the, shop for 2 or 3 months, got a full warranty. That's true. The manufacturers will allow us to do that within reason. Now, if a guy's got a 6-year-old scope and he's trying to say that, manufacturer might raise an eyebrow, but no, that's within reason. That's what that is. So definitely that is a benefit there with the dealer. So at the end of the day, just be smart and use all these tips to your advantage. Now, there's some guys that are trying to sell their scopes that listen to this and they go, "You're killing me. You are telling these guys to lowball me." We're not saying that at all. We're not. And we might even do a show here in a few weeks. Hans and I were talking about it on some tips on how to sell your scope. Because again, turning the tables, we want you to get every single dollar that you can for that scope, because we want you to come back to us or other dealers and buy a brand new one. All right. Yeah. So again, we have a vested interest in the used market. We want it to be, we want the used guy to get, or the guy selling the used scope to get as much as he can, because normally those dollars are going to come back to us. So it's in our best interest to do that. So we hope this helped just a little bit. I don't want to scare you to death. I really don't. It's not what this show's about.
The best thing to do, I think you mentioned before, if you're in the market for a used optic and you want to see what's out there, see if what's on the new side, if something is going to be better for you, a better fit. If you just need some guidance on the process and want to purchase an optic and you're in the market to purchase an optic, the best thing you do is just call us, 877-350-1818. We're pretty honest guys. If we can't help you, if we don't have anything, if you got a better deal somewhere else, we understand that. We're not going to try to sell you anything that you don't need. The most important thing for you, really, we're going to sell you what you need and what's going to work, because we want you to be a happy customer, but we also at the same time don't want you calling back mad at us and yelling that you got the wrong scope and we sold you the wrong scope. So anyway, give us a call, 877-350-1818, outdoorlegacygear.com. We would love your business. And hey, if you are looking for all of our past episodes, you can find them everywhere. TheLateNightVisionShow.com. You can find Jason on the socials, hanging out on the forums there on Facebook, trying to police everybody, keep everybody calm, and keep it clean. He's on Facebook, Outdoor Legacy, on Instagram, Outdoor Legacy Gear, and on YouTube, Outdoor Legacy. You can find Ashley on our other salesman we talk about quite a bit. You can find him on YouTube and on Instagram, on Facebook at ROWETX. That's ROWEETX. And you can find me on Facebook, on Instagram, and on YouTube, Hans ETX. That's HANSETX. And we appreciate it. Thanks you for joining us.
All right, guys. I really do. I fear that we've scared so many people, and that really was not our goal starting this out. It's not the intention. So hope we didn't do that. Hope that you gained a little bit of information from it and maybe protect yourself when you are in the market for one of those optics. Guys, we hope to see you again here next week. We will be back, good Lord willing. That will be episode 277 between now and then. Y'all stay safe in the fields and keep making those bacon pancakes.